decided that we, as kind of a local people, as kind of grassroots movement, we have to take that next step into agriculture and food systems development. And so I developed Cultivation agriculture development for that specific purpose to look at food systems development, rethinking like beyond cattle-driven economies, which most reservations are. Agriculture is anything that can be produced with an added value intent. And so that's my focus of and my organization, which is a 501c3. Today we are talking about hemp, and with hemp basically derives from cannabis. And cannabis is defined as made from dry flowers called cannabis sativa. So within cannabis, you have different identifications, and that basically stems from the chemical makeup of what it produces or how it looks. Cannabis can have large leaves, skinny leaves, can be 6 foot tall, 12 foot tall, and that's the overall identification of what cannabis is. We'll start to dive into more is what the difference between what hemp is and what marijuana is in its description. And so cannabis is like identified today by the THC value or the CBD hemp value, or CBD value, which distinguishes between what marijuana is and what hemp is. The classification of cannabis. This is where I was talking about the chemical makeup. Hemp, it is cannabis, but its chemical makeup on the federal scale of identification, meaning it has less than 0.3% of the chemical compound that basically gets you the high. For hemp, it's less than 3% THC, has no psychoactivity, so it doesn't get you high. It doesn't get you the delirium associated to the high. Its cultivation requires minimal care, adaptation to grow in most climates. Meaning you can grow it in the highest of mountains to the lowest of deserts, depending on what you're growing. Marijuana, cannabis, or hemp. Applications could be from automobiles to plastics to food to makeup to anything, building houses. Marijuana is basically the Spanish identification to this plant that was basically turned back in the early 40s, 50s as its name. It is cannabis, and this one is identified under the federal scale of regulating as its chemical makeup is more than 5% THC, so more than 5% of that psychoactive compound. Psychoactive, yes. Cultivation is grown in carefully controlled environments. So for marijuana, a lot of you guys have been following, your marijuana capital will be like Colorado in the U.S. And in there, they cultivate basically over, $1 billion of plant material every year. But most of the cannabis is grown inside, so indoors, indoor cultivation. So you're talking about huge warehouses that have fans, blowers, motors, heaters, stuff that requires a lot of energy to basically grow the plant. Applications for it is medical and recreational use. Cannabis now, like I said, with Colorado being the marijuana capital of the U.S., a lot of the states going to deregulating marijuana stems from the medical properties that come with basically THC, meaning it has a medical property to help the people who battle cancers, who battle epilepsy, who have very um, medical conditions that require some form of healing in the nervous system or pain recovery and assistance. And that comes with like with tremors. You have with epilepsy, you have seizures. Cancer, you have all the medical procedures and all the procedures that go with basically nerve damage and stuff. And so that's kind of the applications that come along with distinguishing what hemp is and what marijuana is on kind of the industrial and personal use. When I was talking about kind of identification of what hemp and what cannabis is, usually in your cannabis realm, you come into these fat leaf flowers. That's more of the marijuana, and then in hemp, it's kind of the skinnier plants. So this would be similar to this would be identified as kind of the hemp plant, giving its stalk, how tall it grows, how thin it is, because they give this identification. Because in industrial hemp, you want plants that stand tall, just like you want trees that stand tall because of the amount of material that can be produced from it. Just like trees, you break them down, you break them into boards, fiber. So hemp back in the day was mainly produced for purposes of fabric, ropes, clothes, things that can be fibrous because of its basically bark of the skin. The indica, these are what mainly what your marijuana plants look like on the ground. They're no more than 3 feet tall, 3 to 4 feet tall, that are just kind of stubby, just mainly made to produce flour on the stalk. Hemp, there are many different varieties of cannabis plants. Hemp is also called industrial hemp. When you start diving into the research and stuff, a lot of identification will come out to industrial hemp. Just earlier this year, or in December, the Farm Bill 2018 was signed, and it was signed with the understanding that industrial hemp would be legal to grow. And hemp basically under the cannabis law, basically back in like 1974, was identified as an illegal drug next to like heroin, everything as a Schedule 1. And as of last December, it was rescheduled with the focus of industrial properties to legal to grow. Last year, with industrial hemp, I believe for the last 4 years, since states have kind of into the opportunities to be able to grow. Last year, I know hemp was grown at 22,000 acres. This year, hemp is being grown at 500,000 plus acres of growth. And both hemp and marijuana are identified as cannabis species. So we've already went through that identification. What can be derived from hemp? So hemp can be grown from a renewable source of raw materials and incorporated into hundreds of thousands of products. And for hemp, it can be broken down into fiber, into oil, into seed, and then also the innards of it. The innards of it is kind of this soft. They call it herd, and it's basically is what you utilize for animal bedding, and also some of the other properties is to make hempcrete, which is a form of concrete for building houses. Can be developed into food. So like the seeds that derive from hemp can be crushed, just like I'm crushed for canola oil. We crush them the same way to make virgin olive oil, almond oils. I mean, there's a lot of different seeds and stuff that can produce oil. And hemp has one of those varieties, except hemp's kind of a property for as a healthier, more nutritious oil is because it has more fats. It has more healthy fats than the other oils that are kind of on the market. Similar to like, I think they call them like, what are they called? 6, 3 and 6, omega 3 fatty acids, which basically there's all this medical on the shelf. You would see hemp oils, hemp lotions, hemp shampoo, and a lot of those products come from overseas. And but again, describing is I have a lot of opportunities in products, and then other properties oil out of the seed, and that can be the oil can be derived to make fuel, lubricants, ink, varnish, paint, to lactose intolerant. Seed has been around for, I mean, just about, I mean, like probably 15 different companies and opportunities that can come out of, produce. Comes from, we legalized hemp, we have ordinance on 9827 that was basically put into ordinance. I mean, well over a year myself. My history and background is basically just growing a basic plant. The hemp stock. So breaking this down, I was talking about herd, when I was talking about fiber, when I was talking about stock. For the herd, we have animal bedding that can come out of it, mulch. I mean, these are all things that have a value to them. I mean, animal bedding, that organic material to your gardens and stuff. Chemical absorbents. I just watched the video this morning. So chemical absorbent. For oil spills or anything that has that lubricant substance to be able to clean water and stuff. So this could be like creating the next to be able to take off oil. Fiberboard. We use this a lot in our houses already. Fiberboard is what you put on. It's basically what you utilize to put up the walls after you insulate and stuff. Fiberboard, and then back to insulation. A lot of the houses that are being hemp built, hemp derived, they have, I don't know if you guys have ever seen spraying it, be able to utilize this due to its R value. You build houses, you have R value. If heat, it can capture the value of the house in relation to and how that envelope of the house can capture the heat. And then within the breakdown of the herd, we make that concrete. The concrete is that ability to pack lime, water, basic lime, water, and to make a hempcrete, to be able to build walls and floors and whatnot. And these are all economic opportunities, basically, to the stock of the plant. For the bass fiber, making rope, canvas, carpet. So when we talk about canvas, a lot of our teepees that we purchase now come from canvas material, or we're derived canvas material. A lot of the military tent back in the day, or still today, come from woven fibers of hemp material because it has the property of moisture resistance, meaning it's waterproof. It's a waterproof naturally. I don't know about the new stuff. Dresses can be made out of bikes, plastic tables, materials can be made out of hemp fibers, clothes, links can be woven, blankets, clothes, carpets, making shoes, bags. A lot on the market now is a lot of hemp shirts and a lot of hemp bags. Um, and then we have the stalk. The stalk of it, able to make biofuel, ethanol, paper products, cardboards, and filters. Getting back to being able to filter out other properties also. But biofuel, hemp back, I think it was like 1920, and all products were made out of hemp. For me, what basically kind of sparked my interest more with hemp is that when I was working at Thunder Valley, I had a company who came up and who came up from Denver and showed me these the vast amount of products. Because we started building at that time, Thunder Valley started building houses, and so this company, all these products that can be utilized to build a house. They already showed you like the switches for the light switches, like hemp plastics and stuff. Even all the way from like the side board, like the outside board could be derived from the stock of hemp. So there's many different properties that can be created, many different products that can be made from hemp. And so I only showed you just the seed and then the stalk. So basically that's the overall entirety of the plant. What does it look like to locally produce? For most reservations, we used to have industry. I remember people talking about we had moccasin factories, fish hook factories, this and that. You know, we didn't have what we don't have now. Was what I'm saying. And so we have the old structures and buildings. To go into hemp, meaning is to go into a production chain factories. You know, being able to get back into industry. Industry as in supply chain development. When we're talking about supply chain development, you're creating a product, you're taking them to market or sale. They take it from market to sale to breaking it down to harvest to production to turning it into steak and whatnot. And the same is the supply chain production for hemp. You grow the plant. You harvest it. You contract with growers. You grow the plant. You take it to a producer. The producer breaks it down. Everything from the seed to each one of those things, the bass fiber to the herd, and breaking it down to those different properties, and then to being able to sell it into making those products, which we talked about, or basically selling it to making those products, or return making a local company be able to produce those products also. Which opens up a lot of opportunity in the realm of economic development and in the realm of job creation, all from a single plant. A lot of our reservations, I believe, for just for the state of South Dakota, our tribal land base is more than 10% of the land base of the entire state, and a lot of our land base is utilized into underutilized. Or overutilized, depending on the realm of production that we're talking about. But we have opportunities because this plant can be grown in different climates in different areas. And when we're talking about local production, we're talking about creating market leadership. So each one of the products or each one of those identifications that came out of the product, oceans, hempcrete, oils, is the opportunity to create market leaderships. So creating markets. Reservations, we don't have markets. When we talk about the exchange rates and all that kind of stuff, our dollar flips once. We get it from our job, when we go to our store and cash our check, that store takes it off the reservation. For us to create viable, valuable, economically driven economies that we got to keep creating business through opportunity, business through development, and businesses through marketing. And each one of those identifications that come from the seed and the fiber are different markets that have to be with banks, stores, and whatnot. Innovation and expansion. And what I mean by innovation and expansion is that and you got to be innovative with the products that we create because on the round, when we talk about economy, when we talk about markets, when we talk about production, you have to be able to have a niche market. You have to be able to have something that will be able to sell. Coming back to cattle, you have Black Angus, you have la-di-da-da, you have like 5 cattle. So does everybody else. So you got to be able to create a niche market. You got to be able to tell different stories. You got to be able to create something that's innovative. One thing companies are doing, they're putting CBD in water, making CBD granola bars, this, and this, and this. So you gotta create things that are innovative. And for us, it's that opportunity. It's that opportunity to be able to be, in creating indigenous markets, being able to create foods, our own fashions, our own houses, and be able to build ourselves up, because that's kind of the focus that I want to see us in is to create something that we can utilize and also share in its market, in its niche market, in its storytelling, and economic development. Like I said, a lot of reservations don't really have economy. They have one bank, 4 grocery stores, 9 convenience stores that are basically owned by somebody off the reservation. But for us, it's about creating economy. Be able to be more sustainable, be able to flip our dollar more than once. These are some of the tribes that I've in White Earth, home of Winona Duke, and her hemp heritage farm has been growing for the last 2 years, and she's been growing the fiber stocks because what she wants to do up there is to revive back those production mills. Back 60s, I don't even know, 50, 60 years ago, Minnesota used to have a lot of fiber mills. You have fiber mills that basically create the fiber that you can make clothes out of. And that's what she's trying to spark back up there, is creating fiber mills. Colville tried for the last 2 years. St. LaCroix, Wisconsin. So Wisconsin's kind of been the ones who've been moving forward with the opportunity in 2014 Farm Bill to research the production of hemp. Winnebago this year put in, I think they just went to 5 acres of industrial hemp and like 2 acres of CBD derived hemp. Here in California this year grew some. Oneida, they grew a small couple of acres. Navajo Nation, for the last year has grown. I think they just kicked off in Navajo Nation. They just opened up a hemp store within the reservation in the last. Here under OLC Tribe, Alex White and the White Plume family, who've been growing since 2001, who have been kind of the innovators for indigenous hemp, have grown numerous acres since basically his lift on not growing for the last 4 years. He's grown probably, I don't know, 8 acres probably in the last 4 or 5 years. System Walkman has been into the research realm of growing. Last year I went to the hemp conference in White Earth and met with the students of University of Minnesota who've been working with Sisseton. Sisseton has a plastics company. They have a plastic bag company. They took the next step to look into hemp plastics for their plastic company so they can get away from it. They wanted to get into something that's more environmentally friendly. And this year, I think they went into 5 acres of industrial hemp. Last year, they had 2 acres of industrial hemp. But Assistant Watkins grow site is actually in North Dakota because their land stretches into North Dakota. So the last 2 years I think this year they actually grew on land in South Dakota, but last year they grew 2 acres in North Dakota for the purposes of research and development for hemp cultivation for plastic specifically. So we're talking about, those markets, those niches, those industries. System is looking at plastic industry. And what does the future look like for us? I mean, based on everything that I talked about, all the breakdowns that can come down from basically the stock to the oil to the seed itself, is that we have a huge opportunity, and the huge opportunity is that we have the vast majority of land that we can cultivate and be able to utilize this. But coming from like my standpoint as agriculture and food systems development, this has a lot of those properties because it can produce food, it can create a commodity, an agricultural purpose, plus also a fibrous purpose for creating things. And so it's open-ended right now. So I just take a rest of the time here just to kind of, if you guys have questions to ask about what I've been doing in relation to growing or in relation to hemp or cannabis. Mainly hemp right now is the thing is my full focus. But hemp, for me, I grew it this year and got to really become close to the plant and how it's produced. When we talk about industrial, when we talk about CBD focused oil. So CBD has these medicinal properties. These can help with like I said, the same properties with ailments, with getting nutrients into the body and stuff. And so I grew a CBD crop this year for the purposes of research and became very familiar with the production of hemp. Industrial hemp can be planted and grown like how you see the cornfields and sunflower fields, and they can be left to grow in the season. When we look at hemp for CBD derived oil, the amount of labor goes up in relation to putting seed out in the field and having it go out to growing a plant that has to be cultivated and managed more on a daily basis and labored by and harvested by hand. It's kind of the different properties of growing CBD and industrial hemp. But those are the two different varieties of hemp that people are going into this industry. The innovators and the leaders that are kind of coming up within the states, Kentucky, which basically is called the bluegrass state, or the tobacco state, is basically going back into hemp cultivation. Same with Pennsylvania. So your two leading industries for this coming year are going to be in Kentucky and it's going to be in Pennsylvania. And for the indigenous population, for the indigenous land, we have a wide open opportunity in being able to create markets and be able to create niche markets and be able to create products that we can take from and utilize from growing a plant. And the one thing I wanted to stress is that hemp, cannabis, marijuana is only a plant, even in its green state. It has no properties of psychoactivity. It has no CBD value. Those only come out when you heat up the plant. It's called decarboxylation. That's why people, when they smoke marijuana, they get high because they heat up the plant. When a cannabis plant is in its green natural state in its harvest, those properties of THC and CBD are none. They're not an active. They're not an active compound. So it's just a plant. It will just sit there like it's a tomato plant. If you didn't do anything with it, it only creates those chemical compounds whenever you heat them up. And it kind of goes the same for everything that's all heated up. It changes its molecular focus when things get heated up. Any questions that you guys have to ask? Free hand, I can answer for you. And this is my contact information in relation to consulting, in relation to anything related to hemp and hemp development. Question.
So basically, right now, you're known as a hobby business. Because this morning, you missed a good presentation from the USDA on regulations.
Oh, yeah.
And that is where we need to be as a tribe. The regulations are essentially done within the next 2 months, but then they'll have to go out for a comment period, through a federal register, public notice, and consultation meetings, but they're willing to come to you folks directly to meet with you. But in there, they also say that we can create our own certifications as a tribe, and we don't have to deal with this state, we can deal with the feds directly, which helps the producer in the long run, because we can provide that certification for him to get his product off the reservation. And using the interstate system and federal paved roads, you know, he won't get pulled over at any.
Yeah.
So, where are you guys kind of, hemp is really a hot topic, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but, you know, I've got a lot of questions too.
Well, I think this, you know, we do know that the regulations have to be approved by the USDA. And I think that what we heard was that that won't happen until either March, April, or May. So whichever month that they decide they want to approve the regulations is kind of where I think that even though today, like what he's doing, Nick's doing, as well as Alex is doing, the thing that's happening now is that you can't transport it outside of the reservation, even though we're a sovereign nation. You know, we don't abide by the state. But I think what's happening is that that's the part that's the issue right now, is trying to get it transported out. Like he just did his harvesting, right? He just harvested his. But right now, according to what Mario said this afternoon, is that he's got to hold on to it. I mean, you can't transport it out, because that's the issue that we're running into now, because we still got to go outside of the reservation to transport somewhere wherever he's going to transport. So it becomes like a jurisdictional issue, but he said that's where the regulations have to be in place first. It's got to be regulated in order for us to get past all of that. And so right now, I think what the tribe did was we have the resolution, I think it's 98-17, that, you know, Alex is falling on. And I think you probably read that resolution too. But we wanted it to stay intact with our ordinance that we passed on hemp. So that's kind of how it was supposed to be done. But I think that about a couple weeks ago, we found out that it was not included with our ordinance. So now we have to make sure that it's included in there, so that people like him, like Alex and others, can still plant and still, you know, do what they need to do with their harvest. And so what we're saying now is we have to get Mario to fix that right away. And so it's there, it's ready. But ours went in what is it, April? Had to meet that deadline, which the tribe did meet it. So now we have a director, and we have a commission that's supposed to be, you know, giving out the permits of people that want to do the hemp. So have you worked with them on that issue, Nick?
Yeah, I attended their first commission meeting, which was a month ago, a little over a month ago. They were kind of just getting into the tribal regulations that were developed. also it comes from, and also the realization that it has to come from a base understanding of the education.
Yeah.
You know, what cannabis is, what hemp is, what marijuana is, because you gotta be able to distinguish those. And then as part of like, I know as part of like the farm bill with the kind of overall, broad regulations, I know there was six things that the tribe had to develop, within those regulations, which was put together commission, fund the commission, create regulations, create the policy and procedures if things came hot, and then look at those avenues of production as far as like mapping, certifying, creating the certification process.
Like the lab,
And that was kind of the
test it.
testing.
Yeah, testing had to be a part of it.
And those are all opportunities
Yeah.
that can be locally
Yeah.
developed here also, like a testing
It
facility,
has to be.
you know, working with our educational institutions, also certifying things, because in the overall realm of acquiring seed, that really doesn't exist.
Mhm.
What I was talking about, the boom is now, you know, for the last, I don't know, it's been 6 years, marijuana's been boom. So a lot of the seeds are being cultivated by marijuana. Basically to drive down the THC factor to make it come back to that 0.3% so it can be a hemp. So you have all these genetics companies that are coming up and stuff, making hemp. And before the 2018 Farm Bill, you had to source your seed out of the U.S. because seed was local. And before 2018 Farm Bill, a lot of seed was being sourced out of like Canada, and Europe, and Asia, from their varieties and stuff. And within the last couple of years, the topic of patents is coming back. China has like over 600 patents on their seeds. Canada has been growing for for the purpose of industrial purposes, also up there. But it's acquiring seed, and that's one thing. Whenever the government says that you have to have like certified seed, that doesn't exist because we don't have a library of seeds to be able to pull from. So you have a lot of these companies, like I said, have the training, the facilities that come from hemp that are supplying seed. And it's going to come back down to the genetics, the makeup, the viability, you know, because you can't grow a lemon tree in our climate, you know. And it's going to be the same thing when we come back down to CBD, industrial hemp stuff, is that things that are growing elsewhere were modified for those climates. And integrating also is going to be the thing, but it always comes down to finding those seeds and sourcing those seeds. And the U.S. government says you have to have certified seeds, but they don't have seed themselves. But they've been growing their bank from the imports from a lot of the companies in the last 40 years. And so, but for here, hemp, before it became the issue, you know, 70 years ago, was already a plant that was already thriving, because it was used in world wars. And it was used before that, in the southeast, you know, in the south and stuff, for cultivated purposes, for fire, for food, and all that kind of stuff. And so it's making that regenerates back, for the same properties, for the same purpose. And we already have a lot of wild hemp, here locally, that we should be looking into also. But acquiring seed, especially with the growing boom, because it's called the oil boom now. It's the new oil boom of what CBD is and what industrial hemp is. Like I said, last year it was 22,000 acres. This year it's over 500,000 acres. People have already put out their applications for next year. Next year, I bet it's going to be 2 million plus acres. But we got to understand we gotta understand the need, what we need as indigenous communities, because a lot of us don't have those, don't create those economic opportunities that should be sourced for around agriculture, food production. And this is one of those plants that basically has those, multi-source opportunities. Because the basis of our economy derives from food. Food. Agriculture is dipped in food. It's all based on what we as consumers need, what we as humans need and stuff. And so this one is it's multifaceted. I mean, with over 1,000 different properties of products, this is one of those things that can be utilized, that can be integrated, not a monoculture focus, it can be integrated to create an agriculture and food system.
You know, as a producer, which you are right now,
Yeah.
have we already also looked at the area of, the nearest area to us, to get product over where it needs to be processed into a viable product of some sort, whether it be a bottle, glass?
Yeah, no, that's one thing that with the industry, you only have you have a lot of booming companies that are coming into existence. But nobody really has the production industry to be able to process those things. And especially up here in the northern plains, a lot of those companies don't exist. I think a lot of your product, if you grow, those has to go to Colorado or Oregon or Kentucky, to where those processors exist already. Because Kentucky had tobacco, which is processed out the same way, which is tobacco. Colorado has marijuana, they produce it out and stuff. So we have Oregon, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, Colorado. But as far as looking for those, it's kind of still in the research part of looking where we can ship off, but also looking at what we can integrate from. You know, us as indigenous communities, as tribes, we got to be thinking about creating local industry. You know, those factories, those production plants, all those kind of things. And they don't have to be enormous, I would imagine. You know, I'm not talking about building cities of production. We're talking about being able to create production companies that will suffice for our growing areas. But I think we have over 350, 400,000 acres of already identified agriculture production sites. Well, being able to grow from that, if we already have 2.7 million acres of identified, viable, allotted, whatever, it's being able to understand what do we want to grow, what do we want to utilize it for, and the implications of monoculture, monocropping, or overall cropping different varieties of types of hemp. But that all comes in this industry. You have different types of corn, different types of soy, different types of wheat, all kinds of stuff. And for us, Indian tribal entities, we need to be able to understand this industry a whole lot more, so that we don't focus on one monetized thought of growing a product. We got to think about the different opportunities that come with the seed, with the fiber, the oil and stuff, and be able to utilize those so that we don't produce and ship off.
Yeah.
Then we just set ourselves, we're back where we're at.
So you want to produce, but you want to keep it on the reservation,
Yeah.
right? So that's one of the questions I had. So it's not where you want to ship it off to somewhere, and that's where you run into when you have to transport it out. That's where they're saying you better have your regulations in place.
Yeah.
And you better test it. That's another part. That testing has to be, that's a really essential part of it. Because we've been through a couple of hemp summit where they told, even the feds told us in that hemp, you gotta make sure you have a place where you can test it, like a lab. So the tribe has to have it. While we fell back on, well, maybe the college might be able to help us with that, to test these seeds. Because some like, like Alex, for example, he wants to produce, but he wants to send it off, ship it out. So that's where he's running into that, where he doesn't want to abide, he doesn't want to feel like he has to follow the state's, regulations. But at the same time, we have our resolution 9817 that he falls back on. But again, with what we're being told is that those regulations won't be approved until March, April, or May. So determining what month they approve it, and that's where it goes. But like for him, as growing it, he wants to keep it here. He wants to keep it on the reservation, right? That's kind of what I'm understanding. But as an agricultural piece of it, like these farmers that want to grow it on their own private land, did you ever look? Nobody ever talked about it, but I guess we never questioned it. She just brought it up. Insurance wise, today as an agricultural like farmers, do they insure their crops? And so would this kind of be like something like, would you insure your hemp?
You will have insurance. I just talked to a couple of banks and insurance. But it all falls back on that, I forget what it's called, something security. And being able to process out the money and stuff.
Yeah.
But the insurance will be there.
So insurance
for
will
the
cover
2020 is what they're saying.
Yeah,
They're
2020.
be there for that. And then that goes through the process of basically identifying your farm, going through that whole process. But even with us as a tribe and making that opportunity, which I thought was the most grand idea when we had the Department of Agriculture on the tribal level. I still think it's the next step of our own sovereignty to be able to regulate, understand, value our asset in the agricultural world. Well, for the insurance properties, it's identified with the new farm bill, and then with the insurance companies that they'll have some, along with, I think even without the regulation, if you have it's already in the farm bill, then they'll insure it because it's identified as a specialty crop. So, and I mean, specialty crop is, what is that? I mean, that's a lot of different things. Yeah, but in the overall industrial, it's going to become a commodity once it starts moving even more, which means it's going to turn into like your wheat and your corn and your beans and stuff. Which makes that not a commodity is to be able to take those values that are identified and create those markets. Food products, the oils, the fibers, the housing, the ingredients. And that's everything we need here in Indian country. I mean, we have 4,000 homes, and we need 4,000 more for the next two graduating generations. Imagine us cultivating hemp and then building hemp-free houses. All those different products that come from creating our own oils, tribal hemp oil, tribal hemp seed, flour, getting back into those things that were the basis of community economy, 2 generations ago, where people grew your own food, traded and stuff, but also getting back into the realm of creating indigenous economy, and creating these multiple sources of trade, food and stuff. So
I understand what you guys are saying about trying to keep it locally, but just looking at it from a reality point, Nick can't go out, and I'm pretty sure the tribe just can't go out and buy the machine that produces the product. So hence, they're still going in the infancy stage. You're gonna have to take it somewhere.
Yeah.
Until they can build up enough capital to, set aside X amount of dollars so that they can start purchasing a machine, building that machine, build into that.
And that comes with the new regulations.
Regulations. Still have to be.
I had a question about those regulations. Is that the regulations that prohibit the transportation, is that only ground transportation?
No, I think it was overall, I think it was like interstate commerce where it was identified.
Yeah.
Under the Farm Bill is interstate
So we
commerce.
can't fly it out.
Is that what interstate commerce means? Just on the road? That's everything, right?
It's everything, yeah.
All full transportation, right?
Well, that was one of my questions from this morning to the USDA guy and Karen Everson, and that, you know, when I asked him, our producers need to get this stuff off the reservation, he says, yeah, technically, you can get onto the interstate system, and there should be no problem getting it off the reservation whatsoever.
So
That's the technical,
Having
yeah.
the certification in case he gets pulled over, either at the tribal or state certification, saying this product is 0.0% clean. Yeah. And that would be the certification that the tribe needs to develop. So there, the regulations, from my understanding, are giving you guys a lot of leeway and a lot of opportunity to develop jobs to create them certifications internally. Because I asked him if they're gonna build a template this morning that we can use as a guide to accommodate everything they're requesting us to do.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, that's gonna be done.
Yeah, and I think Mario talked with Tim Potts, USDA about that, but we need to get with you. Because Mario is kind of the legal one for us to work with the commission and the director to try to get everything in place. But he said, we'll probably need to sit down and work those things out. So I think he said that was something they're gonna probably do.
And that's the process that we're in right now. You know, Alex, we send off samples to get tested.
Yeah.
And so that'll give us like a foundational piece of data, because I've been working on using keys apart, you know. My stuff got pollinated from wild hemp. His stuff didn't.
Yeah.
So that gives us a foundational understanding of what is happening in the same plants in two different locations of the reds in relation to pollination and in relation to water, all that kind of stuff. So we're starting to build this data, which is key, especially to understanding producing. It's all new. It's all new. But producing hemp requires a lot of upfront capital, especially if you're going to get into the CBD or in relation to growing for seed and oil. These are two different production processes. Like I said, for the seed specific, you roll it out like you do corn, you know. But for CBD, it's a lot labor intense. Basically, you have to put in irrigation lines. A lot of water. It doesn't take a lot of water as a thing, but it takes a lot of equipment to feed, to water, you know, to nurture it. It's a lot more labor intensive compared to like rolling it out like corn. But the properties, you know, environmentally, the properties that you can cultivate hemp within 120 days. You know, you can grow. I think it's for 1 acre. For 1 acre was something outrageous. In comparison to one tree, you go to full growth, 14 to 20 years is basically the tree that you can break into down with the material. You break, you know, 100 or 1,000 times much in that growth span of useful production material. And a lot of, like I said, a lot of companies are coming up with like hemp flooring. You know, I mean, I've seen polyplastic glass that they would utilize for windows and stuff too. Sheeting, you know, all this stuff. But it's all comes down to like market, niche, store, product development, all that kind of stuff. But in getting into it, it's for me, for people who like to grow, or people who wanna integrate it into their crop, into their vocational crop, from corn, soybeans, whatever. This is a product that can be grown for its multi-use source. You know? So I thank you guys for the opportunity to speak to you guys, for you guys to come.
Thank
And
you.
any other questions you have, feel free to contact me.
Thank you.
Every Sunday I'm selling hemp rope.
Yeah.
3 days.